Hello everyone, welcome to the class of Transportation Engineering 2. So in railway engineering till now what we have done is we have discussed the components of P-way. Okay. So we have discussed every component of P-way or the permanent way track in detail. Now proceeding in the further direction, the next thing we'll be talking about all the forces which are acting on the this thing permanent way. Okay. So based on these forces, the design of the and construction of the P-way is done. Okay. So the topics which will be covered in this lecture are resistance to traction. Then first of all, we'll be discussing what traction is. Then what are the resistances which are offered to the traction. These resistances will decide or will govern the total amount of force which is acting on the this thing, which is acting on the rail tracks. Okay. Then hauling capacity will be discussed. Then lastly, we'll be having a look on the tractive force or tractive effort of a locomotive. Okay, so let's start with traction and resistance to traction. So first of all, what is traction? It is basically the source through which the locomotive drives power. Okay, so locomotive means uh, this thing. Locomotive is what runs the entire, what carries the entire rolling stock. Okay, that is locomotive. जिसको आप लोग engine बोलते हो railways में. ठीक है, in a train that engine is not basically engine. The correct term for the vehicle is locomotive. Okay, it consists of engines in that. Okay, which are helpful in creating driving forces on the wheels of the locomotive. Okay, so whatever power, whatever source through which the locomotive derives the power, it is known as traction. Okay, so for example, these sources, when we talk about these sources, basically we have three categories of sources, that is steam, diesel fuel, and electricity supply. Okay, so these are the three tractions which are available for us in Indian Railways. Okay, now out of these, the steam traction is obsolete, which is not used nowadays except for certain exhibitory purpose. Apart from that, you won't be finding these steam locomotives nowadays. And electric supply, when we talk about this, then the traction could be either in AC form or in DC form. Okay, this traction power has a bearing upon load carrying capacity. Okay, load carrying capacity of what? Of the track. Then this speed of the locomotive along with the entire rolling stock. May it be empty rolling stock, may it be loaded rolling stock, but the speed will be governing the traction. Also economy, then efficiency of the service of the track as well as the rolling stock both. Okay, now when we talk about the comparison, then traction comparison between what? Comparison between all the tractions available. Okay, that is the three tractions, that is steam and diesel and electric. So for nowadays we will be for as of now we'll be dealing with only two traction, that is diesel or electric. Okay, so what are the parameters for comparison between them? If you think about parameters for comparison between both of them, the very first thing arises is source of the energy itself. That is, in diesel locomotives, you will be finding what the source of energy is, the diesel fuel. In electric, it is the electricity. Okay, it may be either AC current or DC current, but it is electricity. Okay, next is engine, the type of engine used or the capacity of the engine, the overload capacity of both the locomotives, then tractive effort available in both the cases, then power utilization or fuel consumption. See, on a broad classification, if you'll compare, then power utilization is more in the case of this thing, electric traction as compared to the diesel locomotive. Okay, then speed. This is something which is which cannot be decided on certain factors which are mentioned over here. Okay, because at times diesel locomotives can provide you extra speed. uh, at times electric locomotive can provide you extra speed. Okay, but the speed of the is something which keeps on varying. But if you talk about the traction is obviously the tractive effort is actually more in diesel locomotive and the traction is more in this thing, electric locomotive. Okay, So there is a difference between both of them. We'll study tractive effort after this topic. Okay. Then rate of acceleration. Rate of acceleration is there. Life of the locomotive is there. Direction for use or of reversing or need of reversing. Then driving skills of the both the traction. That is either it may be either diesel or it may be electrical. Then shed requirements, repairs and renewable. Okay, the personal requirements. Then flexibility. That is this flexibility is regarding the number of coaches which can be attached to a certain locomotive. Then track riding, and lastly the cost. Apart from those parameters, there are certain those were the physical parameters which were directly related to the locomotive itself. Apart from that, there are certain parameters which can compare, which are used to consider between both the locomotives. That is working hours per day, the maximum capacity that can a locomotive can handle. That means the working hours, the number of working hours a locomotive can go for continuously for a day. Then the monthly kilometer capacity, then pollution and hazards. Like in diesel locomotives, you may find say more pollution hazards or more smoke will be emitted, whereas in electric engine, no pollution or almost negligible pollution is there. Then availability for services, suitability with respect to the type of traffic, availability of fuel, water speed. Okay, water speed is regarding the steam locomotive, but nowadays it is not operational. Then thermal efficiency, then lastly slipping on adhesion with the track. That is, the slipping of the wheel is very important during the monsoon. Okay. Okay. So all these traction and tractive effort, these are depends upon certain resistances. Okay. Now there are resistances to these traction. Okay. These resistances will help you conclude that what kind of forces are acting on the locomotive along with the rolling stock, so that you will define and you will decide what loads should be considered and what design or what are the parameters or the limitations up to which you have to design the P-way track. Okay. So the classification of resistance on traction is as follows. The resistances can be classified in 4 categories. That means the total resistance which is acting on the total resistance to the traction, it is actually constituted by or comprised of 4 major tractions. That is traction due to traction due to rolling stock, then resistances due to track profile, resistance due to tractive effort, and resistance due to wind. Now these one by one we'll be discussing these resistances, but we have to keep in mind that these resistances are further divided into subcategories. Like rolling stock, when we talk about rolling stock, it is further divided into speed, that is independent and dependent. Then independent speed is further divided into 4 categories of resistance, that is journal friction, rolling friction, track resistance, and internal part friction. Similarly, speed dependent resistances are track irregularities, vertical movement, flange action. These are all the things, these are all the resistances which are independent of the speed of locomotive. Then atmospheric resistances are there, which comes under the category of track profile. Then tractive effort includes gradients and curves. Okay, resistance due to gradient and curve. Then lastly, resistance due to starting and acceleration. This is the thing. This contributes to the resistance due to wind to traction. Okay. So one by one, we'll be discussing all the resistances. In case whenever you find yourself confused between all the resistances to traction, then you may refer this particular flow chart, so you can easily find out which is a part of or sub part of the main relation or main resistance. Okay. So resistance to traction is divided into these 4 categories, or you can say in other words, these 4 resistances together constitute the total resistance to traction. Okay. So what are these resistances? First, train resistance, that is resistance due to rolling stock. Then resistance due to track profile. Then resistance due to traction loss, or you can say due to starting and acceleration. And last is wind resistance. Okay, so train resistance is denoted by RT1, which is further comprised of what? Resistance independent of speed, dependent on speed, and atmospheric resistance. This resistance independent of speed RT1 is caused due to, what are the major causes behind this? It is caused due to the friction imposed due to train components. That means जैसी train आपकी move करेगी, ठीक है, either moving or braking, in both the cases there will be a certain amount of friction which will be developed. Okay, this friction will be developed where? Due to the train components. Okay, train components as in locomotive, wagon compartments. Okay, the wheels of the locomotive. इन सब के बीच में क्या होगा? एक friction develop होगा. So depending upon the type of bearing, lubricant used, and temperature of the atmosphere, a certain amount of friction will be generated, and that frictional resistance has to be considered. So in this regard, for rolling bearing, 0.5 to 1 kilogram per ton is considered for a rolling bearing, and for coupled boxes, 1.3 to 1.5 kilogram per ton is considered. Then this RT1, this the second module of RT1, that is resistance independent of speed. Okay, resistance independent of speed is actually, see how this works is, the first thing is resistance independent of speed RT1 are caused due to the causes. Okay, then this is caused due to, again, friction between steel wheels and steel rails, track resistance, and wave action, like wave action of waves. Okay, then resistance due to the internal parts like cylinders and rim of the driving wheels. All these causes contribute the resistance independent of speed. Okay, so how this is computed? This is given by the formula RT1 is equal to 0.0016 into W, where W is the weight of the train in tons. Okay. Second is resistance dependent of speed, that is RT2. This RT2 is caused majorly due to track irregularities and vertical movements of wheels on rails, that is due to improper joints and maintenance. Also flange action. Flange action का मतलब क्या हुआ? The oscillation and sways. जब आप लोग ट्रेन में ट्रैवल करते हो तो you might have seen कि the compartments at times while the train is moving at a particular speed, they keeps on swaying, or certain oscillations are there, especially due to braking and due to acceleration. There are many oscillation and swaying motion. Okay, so this contribute to the flange action. So this resistance which is independent of speed is denoted by RT2, and RT2 is calculated as point by the formula 0.00008 W into V, where W is again the weight of train in tons, and V is the speed of train in kilometer per hour. Okay. Now the third category, or you can say the third force, the third resistance which contribute to the train resistances is atmospheric resistance, that is denoted by RT3. This comes into play on the sides and ends of wagons and locomotives. Okay, assuming that wind is assumed as not blowing. Okay, so assumption is there कि क्या कि हवा opposite direction में नहीं चल रही है. Okay, so sorry, the wind is not blowing at any direction except for the wind which is being except for the air which is being blown out due to the movement of the train. Okay, so this atmospheric resistance ये कहाँ पर applicable होगा? On the sides and ends of the wagons and locomotive. So this is given by RT3, which is 0.000006 WV square. Okay. Then this entire train resistance, अब हम बात कर रहे हैं किसकी? जो proper traction resistance का first module, that is train resistance. So the train resistance will be sum of all these three resistances, that is RT1 plus RT2 plus RT3. Okay. Now over here, if you find difficult to memorize this formula, then let me help you with that. You can memorize it by remembering the zeros, this thing, the digits. Okay, like in first RT1 there are 2 zeros, in RT2 there are two zeros, it becomes the 16 becomes 8, and W is multiplied by V. In third one, there are after decimal there are three zeros and then 6 is there, and WV is further multiplied by V. So as the formula grows or the component grows, keeps on multiplying V into it, into the expression, and keep on increasing two zeros after decimal, and the digits you can remember easily. Okay. Now resistance due to track profile RT2. This RT2 is not the one RT2 we have studied. Okay. Here this RT2 is small teeth. Okay. This RT2 is having small teeth. That is the train resistance. This is a component of train resistance itself. Now capital RT2 is what? Resistance due to track profile, which is caused due to the changes in the gradients and curves while the train is traveling on a route. Okay. So due to the slippage of wheel and rigidity of the wheelbase, certain factors like this, the resistance due to curve will be arising, and resistance due to gradient will be obviously there, because whenever an ascending gradient will be there, it will require some extra effort to overcome that particular resistance. Okay, so this resistance due to curve is again given by what? There are certain recommended values of curve resistance calculated by Indian Railways, and which are given as follows for broad gauge, meter gauge, and narrow gauge. You can have a look over here. Okay. So for broad gauge, this resistance due to curve is given as 0.0004 W into capital D. Okay. Okay. Next is resistance due to the tractive effort, which is also represented by RSA. Okay. That means resistance due to this thing, tractive effort. Okay. This gets induced due to the starting and acceleration operation, which is happening in the locomotive itself. Okay. So resistance due to starting RS, this varies according to the type of an object. That means for locomotives, it is taken as RS is equal to 0.15 W1, and for vehicles, it is taken as RS equal to 0.005 W2, where W1 is the weight of locomotive in ton and W2 is the weight of a vehicle in ton. Okay. Next is resistance due to acceleration. This is what the resistance, the only thing is resistance due to starting and acceleration. Okay. So together it is known as RSA. Individually it is RS and RA. Okay. So this is caused due to the change in speed with respect to the time. Whenever the locomotive is provided or the rolling stock is provided certain acceleration by locomotive itself, then this particular resistance comes into play. And this resistance is calculated as RA is equal to 0.028 into W into V2 minus V1 upon divided by T. Okay, where V1, V2 are velocity respectively at the beginning and end, and T is the time taken in seconds for achieving the speed from V2 to V1, and W is again the total weight of train in ton. Okay, then comes your wind resistance. This wind resistance is comprised of resistance due to the wind, which depend upon the direction of wind with respect to the movement of train, wind velocity, sectional area exposed to the wind. So these are the three factors which contributes to the resistance due to wind. Okay, below is a diagram where the green line shows the direction of train movement, and the other diagram, that is the orange line, they shows the horizontal and vertical components if the wind direction is inclined at a particular angle theta as shown in the figure. Okay. So this resistance due to wind Rw will be given as 0.000017 into AV square, where A is area exposed in square meters and V is velocity of wind in kilometer per hour. Okay. Then the total resistance to traction. Therefore, now that you have studied all the four, four major modules of this resistance to traction, that means these are the four kind of resistance जो हमने starting में flow chart में देखे थे. These contributes. These are basically the modules of this resistance to traction. So the total resistance is basically what? The sum of all the resistances to traction. Like the first one is strain resistance, second one is resistance due to the track profile, then resistance due to starting and acceleration, and resistance due to wind RW. Okay, so the entire formula, all the formula combined together give you this particular formula. Okay, now proceeding in the direction, next thing is hauling capacity. This hauling capacity is defined as the load that can be handled by the locomotive. Basically the capacity, okay, the capacity of pulling the train, the entire train or the rolling stock, either they are loaded or not. Okay, this is basically an indicative power available to a locomotive. Okay, so that means कितना load वो locomotive pull कर सकता है. Basically what you want to do is you have to pull the load. Okay, you have to transport the train from one place to another, whether it is a goods train or passenger train. तो जितना वो load carry कर सकता है, that means the load that can be handled by the locomotive is known as hauling capacity. This hauling capacity is computed as the product of mu, that is coefficient of friction, and W, that is weight on the driving wheel. Okay, so this minimum value of hauling capacity is nearly equal to traction resistance. Okay, why this is equal? See, for example, इस चीज को ऐसे समझो. For example, a locomotive is supposed to run, let's say carry 10 wagons. Okay, तो उन 10 वैगन्स का एक पर्टिकुलर रेजिस्टेंस होगा. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि जैसे ही आपने लोकोमोटिव स्टार्ट किया और आपने ड्राइविंग फोर्स देना शुरू किया तो ट्रेन स्टार्ट हो जाएगी. नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं होता है. ठीक है, क्यों नहीं होता है? व्हाई डजंट दिस हैपन? बिकॉज देयर इज अ सर्टेन वैल्यू, okay, which has to be crossed. There is a certain resistance which is being offered by the self weight plus all the traction resistance जो हमने पिछले जस्ट अभी पढ़ा है पिछला टॉपिक. that is the entire traction resistance to traction which is being offered. तो मुझे टोटल रेजिस्टेंस जब तक आपके लोकोमोटिव की हॉलिंग वैल्यू जो है उस टाइम पे उस ट्रैक्शन रेजिस्टेंस को एक्सीड नहीं करेगी, तब तक क्या होगा? हॉलिंग कैपेसिटी आपकी नहीं पता चल पाएगी और लोकोमोटिव में मूवमेंट नहीं होगा. ओके, तो मिनिमम वैल्यू ऑफ हॉलिंग कैपेसिटी शुड बी नियरली, इट इज नियरली इक्वल टू ट्रैक्शन रेजिस्टेंस, बट इट इज ऑलवेज ग्रेटर देन ट्रैक्शन रेजिस्टेंस. Okay, so when we talk about the factors controlling the capacity, hauling capacity, then the very first one that comes into being is weight coming on the driving wheel. This weight is of, it may be of locomotive, it may be of the wagon. Then coefficient of friction, which further depends upon condition of the rail surface and speed of the locomotive. Okay, so general values of this coefficient of friction value is given over here. Like depending upon condition of rail surface, for very wet and very dry, the coefficient of friction is 0.25. Then for greasy surface, it is 0.03. For average dampness, it is 0.166. And in tunnels or frosty conditions, since moisture and snow conditions are there, it is 0.125. And with respect to the speed, it varies between 0.1 and high speed and 0.2 at low speed. Okay, so again, if you want to calculate hauling capacity of a locomotive, it is the product of mu into W, small w into n, or you can say mu into capital W. Okay, where mu is coefficient of friction, small w is weight on driving axle, n is number of pairs of driving wheels. ये ड्राइविंग व्हील वो है जो हमने सबसे पहले लेक्चर में जब हम लोकोमोटिव्स पढ़ रहे थे, कैसे क्लासिफिकेशन होता है, पेयरिंग व्हील्स कैसे होता है. ठीक है, जिस लेक्चर में हमने व्हील्स पढ़े थे, व्हील्स एंड एक्सेल. ओके, वहां पर हमने देखा था कि ड्राइविंग व्हील्स कौन से होते हैं, नॉन ड्राइविंग कौन से होते हैं. देन कैपिटल W इज टोटल लोड ऑन ड्राइविंग व्हील. So this maximum axle load in India for Indian Railways broad gauge section, it is 28.56 ton. And for meter gauge it is 17.34 tons. Okay. Now there is one more thing, that is tractive effort. See, try to understand carefully. The tractive effort is different from traction. Traction is what you have studied up till now. Tractive effort is either usually equal to or little in excess of hauling capacity. Okay. So traction, basically this is in ascending order. First traction comes, then hauling capacity comes, then tractive effort comes into play. जो अभी इससे पहले हम एग्जांपल बात कर रहे थे, the movement of locomotive. Okay. So this tractive effort is computed by equating work done by tractive effort to the total power developed by the locomotive. So basically you require this tractive effort to overcome the traction resistance, and therefore which signifies the hauling capacity. Okay. See, hauling capacity is a term which starts from, you know, a value which is higher than traction resistance, or you can say traction resistance, and ranges up to a maximum value of hauling capacity of particular locomotive. And tractive effort is the effort which you have to, or you can say the driving force you require in order to move the train. Okay. For steam locomotives, this tractive effort depends upon difference in pressure on the two sides of the cylinder, length of the stroke, area of piston, dia of the piston, and dia of the wheel of locomotive. And for steam locomotive, similarly, if TE is the mean tractive effort, then work done by the two-cylinder two-cylinder engine will be phi into P into L into D square. Okay, therefore, if you equate this work done by the two-cylinder engine to the work done in one revolution of the driving, you will be getting tractive effort as PD square into L upon D. Okay, where this L is what? This L is length of the stroke, and capital D is dia of the wheel. Okay. So therefore, a small dia wheel will increase the tractive effort, but it will reduce the speed of the movement. Okay. Okay. The same thing, the tractive effort for diesel locomotive is given by the following formula, that is 308 into 308 into H into PR upon V. HPR is the horse rated power or rated horsepower of the engine or locomotive, and V is velocity in kilometer per hour. So here are the readings which you can refer for these particular slides in the presentation. Thank you very much. We shall be meeting in the next lecture.